When I mention the words performance management to leaders of small, growing companies, I get an interesting range of responses. Now, some will talk about the time and effort it'll take and the resistance that they'll encounter, while others tell me that they don't have a problem with performance levels. But then in the same breath, they mention that they've missed a milestone. And at times, the concept is received with a look of horror and a shake of the head. But great businesses and teams measure, improve, and drive performance at all times. Performance management isn't just about poor performance. It's about constantly striving to move forward and build on what you're doing today, whether you're struggling or you're knocking it out of the park. Without a clear performance management system, your team won't have a clear picture of how they're doing, and the most talented people hate that. Those who push back against being measured, assessed, and driven to the next level are usually those who are happy to accept less than their best. And if that's the kind of person that you want to attract and keep in your business, then performance management isn't for you. But if you want to build your environment around those who strive for excellence, here are 5 simple steps you can take to establish a world-class approach to performance management. Number 1, create clear company goals and align team and individual objectives to them. And I've already talked about this one at length in a previous video. So if you want the detail on how to do this, go and watch that before you carry on. But in short, individual performance only matters if it's in service of and aligned to an overall mission, vision, and set of objectives. If you haven't got those already, start there. Then set clear objectives for each person on your team and make sure they're connected to those overall company goals. Step 2 is to give continuous feedback. Setting objectives isn't enough. It's crucial that they're reviewed and adjusted regularly. Once a year leaves too much room for people to go down the wrong path. Much better is an ongoing cadence of formal and informal reviews throughout the year. For our team here at Singular, for example, we start each January with a review of the previous year's goals, successes and failures, lessons learned and reflections, as well as setting objectives for the year ahead, which come with measurements and plans to achieve them. Then each quarter, we conduct a formal, detailed review of where each person is against their plan, what's working and what's not, what needs to change, and where the focus is going to be over the coming 3 months. Each month, we sit down for about 45 minutes with every member of the team to see how they're progressing against the plan for the quarter, and then make smaller adjustments. Then we'll catch up once a week, informally, to talk about last week's outcomes and the plan for the week ahead. Now that sounds like a lot, but those weekly sessions usually take 10 to 15 minutes each, and so your total investment is a couple of hours a month per person, and then an extra hour once a quarter. And that time saves us masses of frustration, misalignment, and wasted effort, so it's worth the cost. Depending on the size of your company, you might also want to consider implementing 360 feedback, where input is gathered from supervisors, peers, and subordinates. Now, it can bring up some painful truths, but it's a highly effective way to identify blind spots, especially for those in leadership roles. Step 3 is to train your line managers. We regularly see biotech companies, especially small ones, promote people into line management roles without providing any support and training. But supervising a couple of PhD students is not the same as managing professional scientists. From time to time, you might have someone take to management like a duck to water, but this is unusual, and most people need to learn the craft. There are many aspects of management to learn. For the purposes of performance management, though, you can focus on coaching, giving feedback, and spotting signs of underperformance. Just a note on this, junior managers shouldn't be expected to correct underperformance without support, but if they can't identify it, then they won't know when to ask for help. And similarly to management as a whole, coaching doesn't come naturally to the majority of people, and there are plenty of coaching qualifications and courses that you can leverage to introduce those skills to your new leaders. Step 4 is to couple performance management with development plans. So if you want performance to continually improve, then you have to keep investing in developing people's capabilities. Most of the time, though, biotech companies tell us that they don't have time to train people, presumably under the impression that at larger companies, employees spend most of their day sitting around drinking coffee and chatting. That's not the case. The difference between large and small businesses from a learning and development perspective is usually that bigger companies have recognized the value of investing in the development of their teams. There's that old saying of the CFO asking, well, what if we invest in training all these people and they leave? And the CEO responding, but what if we don't and they stay? If you continually invest energy and resources into training, coaching, and other development activities, over time, their increasing level of skill will mean you can achieve much more as an organization. And the strides that people have taken individually will compound into a major competitive advantage for the company as a whole. And then step 5 is to align reward and recognition with performance. Creating a culture of performance means that you recognize and reward those who perform. Now, reward doesn't always mean money, and it can come in the form of public or private praise, promotions, increased influence and responsibility, or greater flexibility. Cash is typically king, though, and bonuses are highly effective if objectives are set well around the right activities. And many leaders have a tendency to meet good performance with a brief nod and a cursory grunt, while poor performance is lavished with negative attention. Don't be one of these leaders. Recognize when someone has done a good job and thank them specifically for it. It's simple and goes a long way. Look, as with anything in business, the first version of your new performance management process is unlikely to be the best or final version. So get feedback from your people, iterate and improve. The more energy you put into performance management, the more your performance will improve.